Hi, welcome to my channel. I know that it's been a while since I have had a dialogue with you. I've been on a small hiatus, but I'm here and hopefully, God willing, I'll be able to put together some consistent content for you. One of the things that I want to dialogue with you about is abuse, both physical abuse and emotional abuse. I'm gonna start this series of conversations with you regarding narcissistic abuse and abuse in general. But for about 6 years, I spent about 6 years in a very abusive relationship. And I didn't realize how abusive it was until I survived that specific relationship. I don't think it didn't exactly start off as an abusive relationship. It just gradually began to be an abusive relationship over time. One of the things that I noticed now that I have recovered from that abusive relationship is that over the course of my life, I have been in only a few different relationships, but in those relationships, I noticed that I didn't have, a high IQ when it came to my emotional well-being and my physical well-being. I didn't have the presence of awareness of what all that meant and how it would impact me. I grew up in a family where it wasn't an abusive family. My father was strict and my mom was strict too. They were very strong disciplinarians, but they were very liberal in how they disciplined. So it wasn't overbearing. So I cannot say that I grew up in an abusive family at all. My mother and my father, my sisters or my brothers, we had sibling argumentative conversations, like any other sibling could possibly have. But nothing could have prepared me as a child for the type of relationships that I would endure as an adult. Like I said, I haven't been in but a few relationships my entire life. And I know some people, they've probably dated a lot of different people, not necessarily slept with people, every person that they've dated, but they probably have had greater experiences with many, many different people that they have been in relationships with. In the course of my life, I have had people that I have had long-term relationships with or long-term desires to be in a relationship with them. So I preserve that part of myself and that part of my mental person that you would share with that intimate partner for them if I was either longing to be in a relationship with them, so I wouldn't make myself available, or I was actually in the midst of being in a relationship. And so that being said, my experiences, me not having a lot of relationship experiences, I definitely feel that helped to shape how I viewed the world. It helped to foster, sometimes false hopes in the relationships that I was pursuing or I was open to have. So I'm just giving you a little background, just for you to learn a little bit about me as a person who is sharing my my experience, my expertise, and in certain things, and what I have gleaned from those experiences and relationships. And this first episode, or rather this first video in the series, specifically catered to narcissistic behavior and abusive people, is just the identification that you are in an abusive relationship and that you are experiencing something that isn't normal. In order for you to be able to change, to somewhat change your circumstances, you have to first know. You have to know within yourself that you are experiencing something that isn't normal, something that is not acceptable for anyone in a normal, healthy relationship. So in order for you to resolve or to begin to heal yourself, you first must be able to recognize that it is not normal. It is not okay. And it is not acceptable for you for you to be in a situation where you are being abused. The reason why you have to first understand that small threshold of understanding is because you have to be clear with yourself. I mean, absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt, clear with yourself. Because when you're in an abusive relationship, if that is not something that is ultimately clear, then it will be easy for the person who's abusing you to continue to manipulate you. They continue to abuse you, to continue to make their reality your real reality when it's not. They will continue to gaslight you. And if you don't understand what gaslighting is, it's like if or though I went in there and I told you, let me get something in my kitchen. Hold that for a second. It's like if I told you this container was not a container. This container is a book. It's my journal. Right, a little spot there. But I'm telling you that this container, no, what you're looking at is a book. I can flip this open. There's pages there. It's not. It's not a book. It's not something you can flip open. It's two completely different things. But over time, you believe that this container is a book and you can open it up and you can start reading the pages. I know that's a crazy example, but that is exactly what gaslighting is. Or they will tell you that you didn't see something that you actually just saw. I can just tell you that in the first half of this video, when I first started talking to you, I had my friend here and she was helping me communicate this to you. You and I both know you can rewind. There was nobody here, just myself dialoguing with you. Only me. I'm the only one dialoguing with you. But I have to insist that I had a friend here that was dialoguing. And that's what they will do. They will tell you something was a certain way and it really wasn't. That's manipulation. That's gaslighting. That is something that is an abusive behavior. Very, very abusive, very, very manipulative. Now let's talk about being abused. My name is Deborah. And so any other name outside of an understood pet name that I have for myself or me and my partner have for each other, or an understanding, outside of that, if it's something derogatory that makes you feel less than the person that you are, that's being abusive. It's now, there is something as far as light joking, that if you guys both have an understanding that it's a light joke or something like that, then of course you could write that off as not being an abusive behavior. But if you're dealing with a partner who on an ongoing basis continues to put you down, to make you feel less than who you are, then that is mental and emotional abuse. The reason why it's mental and emotional abuse, sometimes you have people who don't even know you, that, like you might hear somebody say something in a grocery store, maybe they felt like you had 17 items in a 15 item line, and they're back in the back of the line just being extremely dramatic, just dramatic beyond belief. And so they make sure that they let you know that you have 17 items and you're only allowed 15 in this line. And why are you there? Okay, that's somebody that's a little agitated. I don't know, that could be a borderline abusive, really rude, but there is a bigger threshold. People are rude sometimes. It just happens. Even I've been rude and had to apologize for it. But the type of abuse that I'm talking about is from your intimate partner. Why that becomes abusive is because the level of authority, the position of influence that they have in your life, and let me take it a step back, because I don't want you to think that random people can't be abusive either, because if that person in that line, came over and hit you, attacked you, yes, that is a form of abuse. But we don't want to get into that, because we want to focus this video on emotional abuse from an actual intimate partner. And so that person who is a narcissist, most narcissistic people, and people who are non-narcissist, who are just generally abusive, they tend to name call. They tend to say things that they know over time, after carefully observing you, that it will tick you off. Especially if you made it known, oh, this bothers me. Don't think they haven't forgotten that bothers you. They know that bothers you. They literally know that bothers you. But they want to continue to go down that line and let themselves be known that whatever it is that they're feeling, you are the ultimate cause of their bad mood. It's one of those things that you have to recognize is over and over and over and over again, that with these type of people, that a lot of times they feel like you can't do anything right. And they find a benefit in you feeling very bad about yourself, because a lot of times what they see is, if they put you in this position where you don't feel so good about yourself, they can get more out of you, because what you'll end up doing is fighting for their approval. You're going to be fighting continuously to be approved by these people, to be validated. And that is a key part of the abusive cycle too. Abusers want you to validate to them why they should treat you better, with just not the general understanding that you are a human and you deserve to be treated fairly, and you need to be treated with respect. They know that, but they won't even allow themselves to give you that, because why? It's power. It does a person no good who is an abusive individual to give you any leverage to feel comfortable in any way, feeling that you are equal to them or above them. It is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's not what holding ultimate power is about, because abusing somebody is about power. It's about position. It's about having control, domination. That's what it's about. So that's just verbally abusing somebody and emotionally abusing somebody. Because if you emotionally abuse somebody over time, continuously, it wears on them. I know it wore on me. It made me feel less than the woman that I am. It made me feel like I had to work harder to prove myself, and to prove myself to who? Some king? Some, or some queen? It could be different people, various different people in your life that position themselves to do this emotional abuse to you, So you have to begin to take back your power. Part of taking back your power is identifying this is what you are experiencing and not second guessing yourself that it is not, it's not real. You have to convince yourself that it is real, that what you're going through is real, and you have a very, very valid reason why you should no longer accept it. Okay, and then there's the physical abuse part. Physical abuse, oh my God. I know that emotional abuse can be, it takes a lot to get past being emotionally abused. But physically abuse is when someone does any type of physical action against you. Any type of physical action. Breaking into your space. Breaking into any part of my space. Any part of my space. Any part of your space, and wreaking physical harm on you. Unwanted. Undesired. It doesn't matter if you were in a major argument and it got a little heated. That it still gives no one right to put their hands on you in any way, form, or fashion, to use a weapon against you or on you. It's unacceptable, especially if you're not trying to do them any physical harm, Now you have to make sure that within yourself, you are not also being abusive, physically, emotionally, because I a lot of times when it comes to emotional abuse, people get back into this back and forth. They abuse you, so you give it right back. They abuse you, you give it right back. There's a certain level of dialogue when you're escalating it that you can step back and say, no, this is toxic. Toxic conversations you just cannot come back or recover from. It's very difficult to recover from those because not only do they are lasting for you, but they're lasting for your other individuals. That's the reason why it's so important for you not to say things that you cannot take away, you cannot take back. It's good to practice not, I prefer to say not using expletive curse words and things like that, because that can escalate things very, very quickly. And then using language that you feel that would be denigrating or degrading for that other individual and stuff. You have to set the example, because part of healing yourself is being, creating a sanctuary within your own person that you won't violate you. When you begin to set standards where there's certain standards that you're just not going to violate, even for yourself. You're not going to defile your person, honoring yourself. So the first part is the decision, so in this process, if you have listened to this video up until this point and you have identified, yes, I've been experiencing an abusive relationship, yes, I don't necessarily know whether or not I'm in a narcissistic relationship, but I'm definitely experiencing some emotional and some verbal and emotional abuse. And I may, and if you've also identified that you have been experiencing some physical abuse, if you would take the time to accept that this is not acceptable, that's the first step. And that's where I want you to get, that's where I want you to try to get to. If I have reached you enough to get you to the point to understand and accept this very, very crucial, milestone, you and I can help you understand whether or not you yourself, have been in a relationship with a possible narcissist. The reason why I say that, is because, like I said, I was in a relationship with a narcissist for over 6 years, and it wasn't until that last year when I began to recognize that I was in an emotional abusive relationship. And it was never a win-win in conversations and stuff like that, I began to question, okay, what is this person? What kind of person is this that I'm dealing with that I cannot even have a rational conversation with half the time? And they're constantly, using every episode that we've ever been to make themselves seem like the victim. If this is you, then I have a lot of information that I am going to share with you in the future. I just want to tell you to first, after you leave out of here, work on accepting the fact. If this is you, that you have been exposed to an abusive, verbally abusive, and emotionally abusive relationship. And if it is you, and that you have also experienced either the possibility of a physical altercation or an actual physically abusive relationship, that you will stay with me on this journey as I help you by sharing my experience with you as a survivor of an abusive and a verbally abusive and an emotionally, charged relationship, where I definitely had an encounter with a person who physically abused me. And not only that, but I will also share with you some of the pitfalls that I faced when I had relationships with other people who I thought were going to be my future, and that I thought that I should put my whole life on hold and put all my eggs in one basket for this individual who I thought was my future. Never have my best interest at heart, but was somebody who was just playing me because I was gullible. That I was not one of those women who happened to be schooled on the game. I was one of those individuals who spent a lot of my time focusing on school, growing up in a Christian family, sharing great times with my mother and my father. I have a relationship. I'm a daddy's girl, definitely a father's girl. My first love was my father, and my father, he passed away a few years ago in 2017. God rest his soul. My father was my hero, and he was the first man that I ever loved. And I tell you, he was a formidable example for me, and how a woman like me fell into being in an abusive relationship. I want to share that with you, because I think that there are many, many people out there who both been in both positive and family relationship dynamics, and people who have grown up in dysfunctional relationships with their family members. They want to figure out how did they get there. And hopefully in my journey, As you journey with me, I will share that with you, and I will share with you around this kitchen table talk. As you know, kitchen table talk, simple conversations in many different series. This series just happens to be narcissistic abuse, and also just abuse in general, and so that I can help you to have the tools in your tool belt that can possibly help you in your journey to either to help you get out of that situation or turn those circumstances around. Because sometimes all it is that you got to figure out where you can get the right help, and maybe that loved one, you can point them, if they're the dysfunctional person, in the right direction to get the help that they need. And in order for you to stay with me and know that, you know, the next time I upload, hit that notification bell and subscribe with me, so that you will know when I upload the next time, and we can go on this journey together. Bye.